Prior to heading out to Tokyo to see Ireland getting their behinds handed to them in the World Cup, Joe Canning did an interview on the Second Captains podcast, and essentially it's about the ongoing managerial situation whereby Micheál Donoghue, a couple of months after the season ended for Galway, knocked out of the Leinster Championship, he stepped away from the job for next year. A couple of months later, we're still no closer to a manager at Galway, with even suggestions that the likes of Franny Ford and Noel Larkin, that they wouldn't work with the current chairman, Pat Carney. Obviously, there's a sponsorship situation where Supermax have now put out 2 statements demanding that there be clarity with the financial accounts and statements and what have you with Galway. So it's all pretty unsavoury if you're a Galway person at the moment and you're thinking, we've got a brilliant team who've been really consistent, and is that all going to be squandered at this point? So Canning was asked about his frustrations with the situation, so I'll go through a couple of his comments and just tease them out a little bit. So when he was asked about his frustrations and coming under fire from Supermax, the county board that is, he goes, that's it, just very frustrating. This isn't, I suppose, a thing that just came up this year. It's years and years in the past as well. Hopefully it gets sorted. I don't know when, I don't know how or who's going to sort it, but hopefully from our players' perspective it gets sorted sooner rather than later for the good of Galway hurling and football, because if it's not, it's going to set us back years, and that's the unfortunate thing. Now this was the crucial part here. There's a lot of egos there that just want to do it for themselves, and I don't think for the right reasons. So hopefully they'll understand that Galway is bigger than 1 or 2 people, and hopefully the right thing is done at the end of the day. Whether that means stepping aside, whether that means publishing the accounts, whatever it means is a little bit unsure. But the fact that there's a lot of egos there, and when people talk about that, that means that people are kind of holding you back. And definitely with the way things have gone here, with sponsors looking for change, definitely looking for clarification, with a manager stepping away that the players want, as far as I can see, there are definitely people in the way of Galway's progress. So he also said the players hadn't been consulted on a potential new manager. And he goes, I honestly don't know what's happening. This is Canning now. It's very frustrating on the players' part. When you think about it, we won the All-Ireland 2 years ago, have won 20 of our last 22 championship games, and are probably the most consistent team in the championship over the last 3 years. Yeah, that's very true, because they used to be really, really flaky. So Micheál Donoghue definitely did change them there, brought them their first All-Ireland in 29 years. I definitely would see a couple of drawbacks in how they played in the last season and a half or so. I think there was probably too much long ball, boom ball as some people call it, just knock it on Johnny Glynn all day. Very unlucky this year in the sense that Joe Canning missed 3 3/3 of the games, came on against Dublin, got a couple of points, and obviously they lost that game. But not having him was obviously really important in terms of their downfall this year. But just to kick on with what else Joe had to say, there are a lot of questions to be asked, and that's probably not asked already, but that's for other people and not for players. At the same time, the fact that he's talking about it all kind of does add a bit of heat to the situation, in the sense, it turns out the heat on other people to answer questions, much like the Supermax statement did. And that's probably the 2 strongest voices: Joe Canning, the biggest name player probably in hurling, and definitely in the county, and then Supermax, the sponsor. He said he couldn't believe it when he heard that Donoghue had resigned, and that's something that resonates in terms of when Liam Sheedy left Tipperary in 2010. There was very much this sense of couldn't believe it, shockwaves, therefore the next man coming in, he's not the man that they will actually all want there, or there's a fair chance that a number of them won't want, because they'd still rather have Donoghue. So is it a case of it'll be a while to pick up the pieces? And as I've said a number of times, some of the very best Galway players either have a lot of miles on the clock, or they're tipping 30 or past 30 at this stage. So they're very prime years. They're at the end of it now, so they don't have years to waste. So in terms of he said they still have plenty to offer. We're very happy with all the management team. Said we were very happy with the management team. So that's referring back to Donoghue again. We still wanted them, and we probably still do. So it's kind of a come and get us sort of a plea and a message to the county board. When we talked about egos already, look, whatever it is, swallow your pride, go back and get Donoghue. And there had been talk of like a lack of communication even in the last couple of years between Donoghue and certain members of the county board. So that would need to be sorted, and that's what refers to egos. And just to finish out what Canning was saying, but they've all declared that they don't want to go back. So that's disappointing from a player's perspective, because we were very happy with them. We felt after this year that, seeing as how the year went, we had something to prove to ourselves next year, and we feel we have the panel probably strong enough to compete. They certainly do, but if they don't have the right man there, it could all fall apart. And we've seen that with, as I've mentioned already, Tipperary in the past, when you don't have every piece in the right place, and that goes from the top down, the things, when you have the players, that you don't always deliver. And to be honest, like with Galway, they probably had plenty of young lads who, you know, have lots of underage success, probably haven't brought through enough young players in the last couple of years. Whether that's down to them not getting enough of game time, some of them did, or just the talent not quite translating to senior level, that's another thing. But let us know what you think with the situation with Galway and how it's going to pan out. Is there a chance that Donoghue will come back, or what are you hearing over in Galway?